Hi everybody, welcome back. Part 4 already of this Land Rover Defender build, and as you know, we're doing this live on camera. There's no editing, there's no turning the camera off unless the dog starts barking or someone knocks at the door or something, but other than that, no, it's just completely running. You're going to see absolutely everything. You'll see the mistakes I make, you'll see me cutting parts off of sprues, you'll see me sanding parts and everything, and it's also it's aimed at beginners, so people that haven't done one of these before, it might inspire them to go and have a go. So how far did we get in part 3? We finished off up to section 9, and we put our front steering in, and we put our body mounts on the front there, as you can see, and we added some suspension parts. So now we're going to move on and add we also made up this assembly here, which we're now going to add to the vehicle. So as usual, we'll get our parts out first. Now it's looking like we don't require any plastic parts for this stage at all. It's all going to be metal parts. So we need 3 of our MA3 screws. So I've got my dog food containers here with the parts in. So we need 3 of the MA3s, which are the silver screws. So 1, 2, 3 of those. And then we need 2 of the MB3s, which you can see are black, and they've got the step in them. So there's 1, 2 of those. 2 of the washers, which are MB4. So there's 1, 2 of those. Now we need some hardware now. So we've got these sort of drive shaft couplings, as you were. So you've got one which is long and one which is short. So you've got the short one here. You can just check it against the drawing to make sure it's correct. And then we've got the long one here, which is great. So there we are. And then this down here is for step 11. We're not doing that yet. So we've now got all our parts together. We'll get our screwdriver and we can put our chassis over here so you can see what I'm doing. Now it's telling us now we need to grease these parts. So we're going to get the grease out of our tub, like so. Excuse me a second. My dog tries to lick the inside of the body. It's in the box next to me on the floor, and yeah, I mean it needs to be degreased anyway before it's painted, but we don't need to add to the degreasing, do we? I'm just going to put some grease on there. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop. Right, that's that done with. Sorry, I was going to stop the camera then, but no need, it didn't take a second. I have the nosiest dog on the planet. I think she's absolutely into everything. I also want to put some grease in there because remember, when the differential is working, one wheel may spin, and that little shaft in there will be spinning inside that shaft in there, like so. So you need to make sure you've got grease in there. There we go. And then we're going to put these in. So basically they're going to push in. This one's going to push in there, like so. And that one's going to push in there, like so. They don't clip in or anything. And you can see there, if you turn one side, the other side turns in the opposite direction. And if you turn them both together, it will turn the motor, but I don't have the power to do that. But if we actually turn the motor, we can see that it actually does work. So, by the way, this action here is quite stiff on mine. You can see it's also quite juddery. It's because I've got an uprated motor. I haven't used the standard kit motor. If you haven't watched part 1, then you'll know all about. You won't know about that, and that's why it's so stiff. Yours, if you're building yours with a stock motor, yours will be a lot more easy to turn. So, right. So now we're going to add in these parts here. So I think the first thing I'll do is actually mount it up. So we're going to add this on here. Make sure these steering arms are to the sides because they need to come out through these gaps here. And then this is just going to simply go down like so. and then we've got 3 screws. Screws are here, aren't they, when we're doing? One in here, one in here, and one in here. Go like so. So that's that in, and then, like I say, make sure the steering arms are sticking out the sides here, because once this is on, you won't be able to manipulate them anymore. Now I don't know why we're not putting screws in there yet. We shall soon see. There may be a bash plate going under there or something. So we've now got to use these MB3 screws and the 2 washers on these uprights to connect to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this on its side so you can see what I'm doing. Move that up out the way. We'll put the screw in there. Oh, sorry guys, it doesn't help that everything is black. We'll put the washer on there. Okay, so we've got the screw in there going through the arm with the washer on. Then we're going to bring this down and put the screw into there. I'm going to make sure everything is nice and square. Just wind this in. Again, this is a shoulder screw, so you just keep going until it stops, and then just give it a little tweak like that, and then there's your front suspension done. Do the same on the other side. So lay it down like this, take our screw and washer, put the screw through the arm, put the washer on the back, just make sure we get everything nicely lined up and square. And there we go. So that's that. So we've now completed step 10 and we've got our front suspension, our wishbones and everything in. Right, so now we're going to start looking at the hubs and drive shafts. So we can put the chassis to one side, like so. Right, hubs and drive shafts. Now, again, it looks like we only need a couple of plastic parts. I remember seeing those uprights in this bag. Yeah, there they are. So they're separate pieces. And I'm just going to check from the parts call out at the back of the instructions that they are the right parts. Yeah, uprights, okay. So there we go, so that's our uprights, so we can take the sprue nibs off of them, like so. There's a bit left on that one. And we get a sanding stick, just give that a little clean up. Now then, so we've got those 2 plastic parts there. They're symmetrical, so they're the same, but we're going to obviously build them the other way round, or opposite way round. So we need 2 of the MA13s, which are the little brass balls, like so. Then we need 2 MB8s, which are the bearings. So we go to our bearings box. Now these are the bearings you get in the kit. These are like your phosphor bronze or oil bronze or whatever they are, bearings there. I'm not going to use those. I'm going to use these. Now, these are the ball bearing races, which I'm going to use in place of them. Handy little bag to keep hold of, so we can put that in with our spares box. One thing of note I've discovered, if you've got any old Black & Decker tools and you get any of this size with the bronze bush, they're the same size as Black & Decker, some of the Black & Decker tool spindle bearings, so always worth keeping bearing in mind. And then we've got two MB14s, which are these parts here, which are these cups for the drive shafts here. So we've got two of those, like so. We can put those against the instructions and check. Yes, they are correct. And there we are. So we've also got these little 3mm little O-rings that are going to go in there, and they're going to stop the drive shafts clattering. So got one of those there, and one of those there, and in the bottom of there is a, you guessed it, a staple. So we've got to push those in. So what it's showing you here is to take one of your drive shafts here, put the O-ring in, and then just use your drive shaft to push it in, which is easier said than done. Might be easier to use a screwdriver to push it in. There we go, that's down in there properly now. And all that's doing is it's stopping the drive shaft clattering around, and maybe even falling out. So it's telling you to push it in with the drive shaft. Well, that one went in easier. No, it didn't. I find it's easier to use a screwdriver. Yeah, that one's gone in on an angle. They're the right size, aren't they? Yep. Tell you what we'll do. Just put a spot of grease on there. That might make it go in a lot easier. Cool, look at that. That flew in there. So I think what I'll do is take this one out, because yeah, that one's sprung back out at an angle. So put a bit of grease in here. And then use the drive shaft to move all that about a bit, and then we should be able to stick that on the end of there. Look at that, just slides in with ease. So there we go. Now we know a bit of grease helps. So put the drive shaft back over there, we don't need it yet. So we've put those in there like that now. Now we're going to move on to actually fitting this MA13 into here. So again, we'll get our box spanner. There it is. Pop that into there. And you can see you've got two holes in each of here. This is right, you don't actually, sorry, I thought you had two holes. One of them's just a pin mark. So that one's gone in that way, so this one's got to go in the opposite direction now. So we want this one to go in that side. Screw it in nice and square again. Keep checking. Keep checking your square. just snug it down like so. Check again you've got opposites, so you've got them not the same but they're opposite. Okay, and now we can put this bearing in here. It's telling us to grease here. That's only if you use the standard kit bushes, so I'm not going to worry about greasing it. There we go, that goes in there like that, and then the same on this side, and that's going to go in there like that. Oh, and then give it a bit of a shove because the bearing goes in there nice and tightly. So there we are. So that's those in. So we've made those, so now we can move everything out of the way and move on to the next part of the instructions. And here we are adding these. We're now going to add these parts. So we need our hardware here, which is 2 MA3s. We've got 1, 2 of those, and then we've got 4 of these MB2s, and you can see they're dark, so they're black, and we match them up there. So we need 4 of those, like so, and then we finish with our B part. So you can see once again we've got some spares. We're going to also need 2 drive shafts. We've got those there, no spares in that pot, so there we are. So there's our 2 drive shafts. So what we've got to do now is fit all this into the front of the chassis. So we take our, I'm just looking, it looks like they're not telling us at this point to fit the steering arms, but it may be a mistake in the instructions. We'll have a look. So first things first, we're going to grease the shaft. So we'll put a drop of grease on each end of the shaft, like so. Okay, and now we want these balls facing upwards, so I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm going to slide the shaft. Let's do this on its side so you can see what I'm doing. In fact, what I'll do, move that steering arm out of the way. It's got itself wedged in there somehow. There we go. Get the steering arm out of the way. Then what I'm going to do, I'll put the shaft down in through this hole into there, like so. Then we'll put the hub assembly, hold the spindle on the outside, making sure we've got it the right way around. Now that's wrong. Well, it's facing downwards, but it's actually facing upwards, so it's right. I was thinking they have to face upwards. So we're making sure they face, when the model's upside down, they're upwards. So it's, in reality, it's the, they're going to slot in between here, like so. I'm just going to turn the shaft. So you see what I'm doing there? I'm holding the drive shaft here in my hand, okay, with my left hand. I'm holding the end of this, and I'm able to turn that in there like so, okay. Then I'm going to slot this down in between the upright, and then turn it, and it will engage. And you'll know when it's engaged because you won't be able to turn the actual spindle. Then we're going to take one of these special step screws, put this in here, just start that off with your fingers, do the same on the bottom. Okay, and then we take our screwdriver, wind that in, and do the same on this side. Wind that in. Just snug it up till it stops. Okay, and then we're going to do the same on the other side. So take the drive shaft, put it here so you can see what I'm doing. Move that steering arm out of the way. So take the drive shaft, put some grease on it, some grease on this end, and then I'm going to drop the drive shaft through and into there, like like so. Then I'm going to take this arm and hold the spindle part. Get that to go in there, and at the same time turn the spindle till it goes down over the drive shaft. And then get the screw. Do it until it stops. Same on the top. There we go, that's that step done, except for these two screws here, these two MA3s, one in there and one in there. Wow, they are tight good in there. There we go. So that's that step done, and we've finished with all the parts from B. So there's our front end, and I just want to check something in the instructions. Now what's happened here, as you can see, stay out of the way. Right, if you let it go too far round, the steering, the arm, this part of the steering will get jammed in there. So just be a little bit careful of that. And you can just check the operation of your diff. Okay, if you turn one side, you can see the other side goes in reverse. So you know your differential's working, everything's smooth. Make sure your steering arms are out of the way and not binding up. And I'm just going to have a quick look in the instructions, because at this point they're not telling you to connect the steering arms up. And I'm wondering if that's an error in the instructions. No, they tell you to do it here, which seems a little strange. I'm going to go out on a limb and do it now, because it'll stop these all flapping about. Okay, so we're going to put that over there like so, and I don't have the strength to squeeze that on, so get a pair of pliers. That's gone on. These aren't the best of pliers because there's such an angle when they open. You could do with pliers really that sort of stay more parallel. The reason I'm doing this is these steering arms are a pain because they keep getting jammed up everywhere. I was able to do that with my thumb on that one. So there we go. So that's them on. Alright. Just check again that you've got your balls are facing the same. These flats are parallel. You don't want them twisting off because they will come off. So now your steering's working there, and you can check your diff's working, and that's that all done. So I think we'll call that a day for part 4. This may have been a bit of a shorter video than normal, but I don't want to start getting into all this now. This is all the diff and the rear axle, and that will be a whole new video on itself. There's a little modification I'm going to do here. I'll show you that when we get there. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying this, and I'll see you all soon with part 5. Bye for now.